What's up, family? This your favorite cousin back again with episode 10 of Rich Talks. And today we are going to talk about the role of suffering in personal growth. Again, the role of suffering in personal growth. A lot of people shy away from suffering. A lot of people believe suffering is something uh, negative. But suffering is that fuel that you need to take you to that next level. I think the reason why a lot of people despise suffering is because it's come from a forced state. It's never their own doing of wanting to be in that suffering. The way we look at suffering. People look at suffering as far as dieting because they've eaten too much, more so than you know wanting to diet because they know that's what they have to do. They have to suffer with not eating what they want to eat or eating how much they want to eat. So suffering can be viewed differently depending on who is doing the suffering. Some people may not mind the suffering because they know the potential outcome, versus someone who may live in comfort. That suffrage is the worst thing they've ever come across. But across the board, suffering is just a universal human experience. It's something we're all going to go through. You have physical, emotional, all type of suffrage. It's not just financial. It's not just the simple stuff that you have. But if we're looking in the context of suffering and personal growth, that's the number one fuel that you need. You're going to suffer. If you're suffering right now, then you're growing. It's just depending on how much are you going to allow yourself to grow. Like I said, one suffrage is when it's brought to you involuntarily, and now you're forced to grow against your own will. But that takes a long time if you don't recognize that it's your time to grow. Versus someone who's willfully wanting to grow, that suffrage is not going to be as bad. Buddhism was something I used to look into, and to them, suffrage is just a part of life. Suffrage is just what comes with life. But they embrace suffrage because they say, since suffering is a part of life, then it allows you to enjoy the beautification of life, for lack of a better word. It allows you to enjoy the greatness of life when it comes in. Sometimes we have this fallacy that life is just ice creams and rainbows, that it's all good all the time. So that takes you away from understanding that struggle will come. So with Buddhism, it doesn't allow you to live in that fallacy that everything is just hunky-dory all the time. It allows you to embrace that suffrage because it tells you that it's part of life. And since it's part of life, it's just something that you have to go along with, embrace. And once you embrace it, then like I said, when the good times come, you embrace those even more. Morning. You embrace those good times even more because they don't come around so often. But with a lot of people's mindsets now is that they feel that they should never suffer. Life should be always hunky-dory. So when those stressful situations come about, they don't see it as a point, or they don't see it as a time for them to start growing. They see it as being punished. You see? So now they're less acceptive to that struggle in order to force them to grow, or in order to let them grow. But to me, the struggle is where something is made beautiful. That's when it's tested. Like that mineral it goes through that fire, goes through that struggle. That mineral just don't turn into diamond just like that. It has to struggle to make it to that diamond. Everything great had to struggle to get there, had to go through some sort of refinement process to get to where it is. That's why it's not a lot of great things out there. Because a lot of great things weren't willing to go under the struggle, go through the fire in order to be great. But like I said, I hate that the word struggle even has a negative connotation to it. Because there's nothing wrong with the struggle. There's nothing wrong with it. It builds character. You know, would you rather something be given to you, or would you rather work towards it to get it? Go through the fire to get it. If something was just given to you, you're more than likely willing to just lose it. Versus if you had to struggle to get something, you're more willing to hold on and appreciate it even more. I think that's the beauty of the struggle, is that when you finally get to where you're going, or you're close to where you're going, you embrace it and you appreciate it even more. Because you had to go through something to get it. You had to risk something, you had to sacrifice something. You had to sacrifice comfort. You had to sacrifice peace. You had to sacrifice what you already knew in order to gain something more. That's the beauty of the struggle. Especially when it comes to personal growth. Suffering is the number one thing that is going to be into the personal growth. Suffering and discipline. But to me, those are hand in hand. Because the discipline is the part of the suffering. You know? Just someone who's not used to waking up, at 5 o'clock. Now they have to wake up at 5. They feel like they're suffering. That's part of the discipline that's needed. But imagine how much closer they are to getting to their goals. See? So suffering is just a part of it. It's just what comes along with the territory of wanting to be great. It comes along with the territory of wanting to change who you are to grow. You know, it's just like growing pains. That's what struggle is. It's just like growing pains, you know. When a baby is growing and it's in pain from growing and growing and growing, all those growing pains, it's just struggle. You know, struggle is something contrary to comfort, I believe. Anything contrary to what your current comfort level is what struggle is. That's what I highly believe. Anything when you're growing in any aspect of life, anything contrary to what your comfort level is what struggle is. And that's where that fire is that struggle. It's outside of that comfort zone. That's going to make you that diamond. That's what's going to make you that diamond. Because at the end of the day, to be completely honest with you, suffering is inevitable. It's inevitable. Just like a baby growing is inevitable, suffering is inevitable. You're going to be forced to suffer. And that's why I like the Buddhist philosophy of suffering so much. Especially at one point in time in my life, I was going through something. But suffering is inevitable. So you're better off embracing it. When you know it's inevitable and you know it just has to happen, that's when you embrace it. That's when you make friends with the struggle. That's when you can use the struggle as your personal weapon, because now you say, okay, since I'm forced to struggle and I'm forced to grow, let's use this as momentum to become even bigger and better and really embrace it. You know? It's either going to lead you down two roads. It's going to either lead you down a path of being a victim, of crying and not really accepting it. So when you don't accept it, now you're crying, now you're upset, now you're a victim. Versus, like I said, utilizing it as fuel to like in a rocket ship to take you out of here. That's how powerful the struggle is. That's how powerful it is. That it can keep some people down. And it all starts with mindset, though. Everything starts with mindset. Someone who may be not in a perfect living environment, they may not utilize that as their fuel to, get a better job or get an education or get a skill or get a trade or something like that in order to up their finances to get them out of the situation. So them living in a certain living environment, to them, their struggle is, they hate it. They don't see that it could be used as a weapon for them to level up and get out. But if your mindset is that the woe is me, I'm a victim, then you're going to say that this environment that you're in is not conducive for you going anywhere, that you're unlucky, you're unfavored, God don't love you because you live in here, there's nothing you can do, there's no resources, you see? Just because of that struggle. That same struggle, like they said, the same hammer that can build can destroy. It's the same thing. The same struggle that can build you can destroy you. It's just, what is your mindset? How do you think, feel, and move when you're in that struggle? It's going to determine your outcome. Like I said, that's why I love that Buddhist philosophy on struggling so much, because once you understand that it's inevitable, you embrace it. When you understand that there is nothing that you can do about it, no matter how perfect you try to live your life, some sort of struggle is going to come, because we're meant to grow. It's only when you're stagnant is when that growth hurts even more. Only when you're not trying to grow or willfully grow, that's when it hurts even more. Imagine like being put in a box as a baby, and now you're trying to grow, and now and now you're trying to outgrow this box, and you see what I'm saying? So now how uncomfortable that's gonna be. That's what happens when you don't willfully accept the struggle. I'm telling you, if you're in a position right now in your life where you're not comfortable or you don't like it, or you want to grow, embrace that struggle that you're in. Embrace it. Use it as fuel. And I promise you, if you just stay down, 3, 6, 9, 12 months, you're going to be in a whole different position than you were in before, than when you first started, than before you embraced that struggle. Everything changes when your mindset changes. I'm telling you, somebody told me that. And, we thought about that before, but with the way they put it, it's just like really, Mike Tyson hit me. Everything changes when your mindset changes. So when your mindset changes from being a victim of the struggle to being a victor of the struggle, imagine how your life can just change. Imagine the blessings that start to come in. Imagine how you start to move with the struggle. Imagine how you start to utilize the struggle to your benefit. Versus just being in victimhood. Like I said, the struggle, it could be beautiful. Personally, me, I've never ran away from the struggle, because I was always into personal growth. Granted, in my own time, so if the struggle made me move faster than I wanted to grow, then yes, I would I would be uncomfortable. I'm human, so I have no problem speaking my flaws or flaws that may be or shortcomings or whatever the case may be. So I too, when struggle is forced upon me in a time that I don't necessarily want to embrace that struggle, or I'm comfortable in a position so I don't want to embrace that struggle, life will start doing things in order for me to start embracing that struggle. But it's okay, because that's the part of life, is growth. And that we can't stay stagnant, we can't stay comfortable. Because when you start staying stagnant and you staying comfortable, you're not embracing the true meaning of a part of life, which is to grow. See, it's to grow. Imagine you're in a relationship. That relationship is to grow. So sometimes the universe may throw different obstacles or different things for you guys to bond together, to grow together through that struggle. But if both of you are not the right ones to be together, or you're not willing to embrace that struggle together, then that relationship is not going to pan out. It's not going to work. Everybody wants the comfort of a relationship. Everybody wants the relationship to be perfect, or this person to acquiesce to them, or they, instead of them both saying, we're going to have to struggle a little bit in order for this relationship to be perfect for us. That's just the way it goes. But like I said, sadly in the West especially, we don't fully embrace things like the struggle. We embrace comfort. And I feel that's why so many people have certain mental, I don't want to say mental illness, but I believe that's why some people's mental health is not as great as it can be. The ones who don't have like some kind of like actual physical thing with their brain or something like that. I'm just talking about like, anxiety or depression and things of that sort. Things that have happened things that come from certain events in people's lives, and it's manifested to something greater. So I believe that's why we have so much of like mental health crisis here in the West, because we don't know how to embrace the struggle. So because we go against that struggle that was trying to grow us even more, now we have anxiety, now we have depression, now we have all these things. Because that's the outcome of not willing to embrace the struggle. Like if you're not willing to embrace a healthy diet or water or vegetables or something like that, or fiber, you're going to be constipated. And that's the same thing. You're constipated with potential energy. That's why you get anxiety, depression, and all that, because you're not utilizing that energy. See, all that energy that you have when you're depressed or have anxiety because you're going through a struggle, all that energy needs to be utilized. But if you don't utilize it, it just bottles up. The universe is giving you energy to get through whatever struggle you're going through. When you don't utilize that energy, it's just stored, and it's not being utilized. And now that potential energy that you could use, it's like it almost becomes rotten. Like when you have food in the fridge and it becomes rotten when you don't utilize it, when you don't use it, it's the same thing. When you don't use the energy that is saved up, or that the universe has blessed you with in order to get through your struggle, when you don't utilize that potential energy, it goes spoiled, it goes rotten. And the way that it spoils and rottens, how it manifests into the 3D is through mental health illness, stagnation, anger, like I said, anxiety, depression, all these things. That's how it manifests. when you don't utilize the struggle to your benefit. That's exactly what happened. Like I said, you see somebody who lives in a, a non-desirable neighborhood, and when they were put under the fire to grow, they didn't accept it. So now guess what? Now they're angry, bitter, mad. I know you've seen those people before who lived in the same neighborhood 20, 30 years and just angry, bitter, mad that they can't move or that the universe doesn't work for them. But the thing is that those people were comfortable and they didn't want to move or they didn't embrace it. So now that energy that they could have utilized to put themselves in a better position or a different position, they didn't utilize it. And now guess what? That potential energy that they had is now spoiled and turned into what? Anger, hatred, depression, anxiety. And like I said, that's not how all forms of anxiety and depression and things like that get made. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that in the realms of not embracing the struggle, when you don't embrace the struggle, that's what happens. Is that energy doesn't get utilized and it becomes spoiled. But the great thing about it is that that same energy that's spoiled can eventually be converted into good resource that you can now utilize to get yourself out of whatever hole you're in. That's the beautiful thing about it. Because that energy is what neither created nor destroyed. So it'll always be with you. Would you want it to hold you down or carry you? Like I said, it all starts with the mental, number one. If you're willing to embrace it. If you're willing to embrace it, life becomes much easier. Again, life becomes easier when you embrace the struggle. When you don't embrace the struggle, you run away from it, life becomes much harder. Because through that struggle is where you get stronger to embrace whatever life is being thrown your way. Through that very struggle. How do you get stronger in the gym if you don't continue going to the gym? You know, you go to the gym one day and you say, oh, this is too heavy. And you just leave. Well, how do you expect to get stronger? If you don't embrace that struggle in the gym to get stronger. You just run away from it. You'll never get stronger. But it's through that breakdown process, it's through that fire where you become refined to get stronger now. Same thing with life. When you embrace that struggle and you wrestle and tussle with that struggle, you come back better. You come back more well-equipped to handle that struggle. And now you start elevating even more and more and more. So granted, every time you go to the gym, you may hurt or it may be difficult. But the difficult of today is way further along than the difficult of yesterday. And you're in a whole different position. So it's the same thing with the struggle. Even though you may struggle today than you did yesterday, the struggle from where you are at today, the point, your vantage point, and what you're struggling and going through, it's way different, than what you did yesterday. And you're in a way different position. 2 years ago, you might have been struggling in the hood. Now you're struggling in Beverly Hills. See? So you're still gonna go through struggle, but now you're in a different point. You might have been struggling on a bicycle. You embraced it. Now you're struggling in the Honda. You embraced it. Now you're struggling in the Benz. It may be different points of where your life is now. But you see, when you embrace that struggle, how your life can change. Instead of using it as the woe is me. Like I said, beautiful. Like I said, the struggle can be so beautiful. Because when you see somebody who's been through it, you know that they've earned everything that they've gotten. You know that fire, that struggle is going to test you. And when you come out on the other side, you're that diamond. You know that struggle that you go through brings you closer to God. It brings you closer to source. It brings you closer to, who you deem or you look at as your higher power. Because you have to have faith. Sometimes you may not understand, but you have to have faith. So now when you embrace that struggle, and now you embrace that faith that you're going to make it through, now you're even spiritually more tapped in. Now you embrace God even more. You embrace the source even more. Why? Because you understand it's for your benefit. You're no longer scared of it. People get scared of the struggle because they don't know how they're going to make it through it. They're strong enough to make it through. Or they feel like they're being punished. But the moment you understand you're not being punished and it's for your benefit, and you embrace it, and you look at source for help if need be, you turn into a beautiful, beautiful tree. Everything has to go through it to get to it. I feel like the worst thing that can happen is someone who doesn't embrace it. All that potential energy. All that potential growth. All that somebody that could have been somebody. Had they not shied away from the struggle. Just embrace it. It'll change your life. And I say struggle, it doesn't always mean doom and gloom. Because it depends on how you look at it in the struggle. Because I firmly believe like when you're in the struggle, but you have a positive mindset about the struggle and understand what you're going through and why it's happening and where you're going, it's not even negative anymore. It's just something that you have to do. It's just something that you're going through. And I think once you get to that point, you become an animal. And that's what it really means to embrace it. Once you get to a point and you know what it's for, you know why it's there, you know it's the growth, you know it's there for your growth. I was going to say growth, but you know it's there for your growth. You know it's there to make you into this person that God intended you to. Once you know all this, oh man. And now you know you have source by your side, you have God by your side to help you if need be, to push you along to the times that you get weary, you get weak. Oh man. That growth is something else. I just wish everybody could see it from that point or embrace it from that point. And I don't think this means voluntarily going out there looking to put yourself in a struggle position just because, no. But when life calls, accept. Don't shy away, accept it. Don't shy away. Because when you accept it, it's putting you in a different playing field already. When you accept it, it's putting you in the field of already embracing it with a positive mental attitude, knowing that it's for your benefit. Then at that point, you're ahead of the 8 ball. At that point, there's nowhere to go but up. Again, the role of the struggle in personal growth, it's inevitable. So you find yourself in a position where you want to grow or growth is being forced upon you. You have 2 options. Do I A, embrace it, or do I B, go against it? But no matter what, that energy is going to be there. And that energy is either going to weigh you down, and which is going to lead to anxiety, depression, anger, hate, or are you going to embrace it and use it for fuel to get you to where you know you need to be or want to be, or source has you divinely guided to be. I hope this helps somebody today. Again, the role of struggle and personal growth. This your favorite cousin. Y'all be safe. Love and blessings.